Ji-won stood in the reception hall of the Galactic Concordance Military Academy and tried not to stare. The doors had taken almost 10 seconds to open, 10 full seconds of standing there, waiting, while the mechanism hummed and slid the panels apart with what seemed like extreme caution. Back home in Seoul, even the oldest subway doors moved faster than that. The alien standing behind the reception desk looked like someone had taken a mantis and stretched it to human height. Its triangular head swiveled toward her with a smooth, careful motion. Two large black eyes studied her for a moment, before it spoke through a translation device clipped to its thorax. Name and homeworld, please. G1, Earth. She kept her voice level and calm, the same tone she had used during her years with the Seoul Metropolitan Police. The same tone that had talked down angry suspects and frightened civilians alike. The alien's entire body went rigid. One of its forearms twitched toward what looked like an emergency button before it caught itself. Earth Class 12 designation confirmed. It made a gesture that might have been the equivalent of a nervous swallow. Please proceed to Orientation Room 7. Your companions are already there. Ji-won bowed slightly, an old habit, and walked toward the indicated corridor. The floor beneath her feet felt wrong. Each step wanted to bounce slightly, like walking on a gym mat. The gravity was lighter here, maybe 60% of what she was used to. She kept her movements smooth and controlled, aware that the alien was probably still watching her. The corridor was wider than necessary and lit with a soft amber light that reminded her of sunset. Temperature was comfortable, maybe 22 degrees. No humidity to speak of. Everything felt sterile and safe in a way that made her skin itch. She passed a few alien students in the hallway. They saw her coming and pressed themselves against the walls, giving her as much space as possible. One of them, something with blue crystalline skin and 4 arms, actually ducked into a side room. Orientation Room 7 was easy to find. The door opened with the same slow, deliberate movement. Inside, 3 other humans sat in chairs that were slightly too large for them. They all looked up as she entered, and Ji-won saw the relief on their faces. The relief of seeing another human in a place that felt profoundly alien. Thank God, said the young woman with short hair and grease stains on her fingers. I was starting to think they changed their minds about letting more of us in. She stood and offered her hand. Hana, engineering background. Ji-won shook her hand. Hana's grip was firm but not aggressive. Ji-won, police work mostly. The larger man with military bearings stood next. Tae-young, Korean Marines, 6 years. His handshake was brief and professional. He had the look of someone who had seen combat, though he moved with the careful control of someone trying not to break anything. The last man remained seated but nodded. Kyung, Medical Corps. He had gentle eyes and an analytical way of looking at things. Have you noticed the structural design yet? Ji-won glanced around the room. Now that he mentioned it, she could see it. The chairs were bolted to the floor. The table in the center was made of something that looked like thick polymer rather than metal. The corners of every surface were rounded and padded. It looks like a room designed for children. Or for people made of glass, Tae-young said quietly. He gestured to one of the chairs. I leaned on one earlier. Just rested my weight on the back while I was standing. It cracked. Didn't break, but cracked. They logged it as a structural failure and apologized to me. Hana laughed, but there was no humor in it. The door to my quarters has a weight sensor. If I close it too fast, alarms go off. I have to ease it shut like I'm handling an explosive. Before Ji-won could respond, the door opened again. A large alien entered, moving with more confidence than the others she had seen. It stood nearly 2.5 meters tall, with thick limbs and a body covered in overlapping plates that looked like dark gray armor. Its face was broadly humanoid, but with a pronounced muzzle and eyes that reflected the light like a cat's. This one moved like a predator, even in the low gravity. I am Instructor Vexthor of the Kralik species, it said, its voice deep and rumbling even through the translator. I will be overseeing your integration into the Academy combat program. The way it said integration made the word sound like contamination. The 4 humans stood. Ji-won noticed that even standing, she barely reached the middle of Vexthor's chest. He was massive, easily twice her weight, probably more. You are the Deathworlders, Vexthor continued. He walked around them in a slow circle, examining them the way someone might examine a dangerous animal in a cage. Earth Class 12. The first Class 12 world to produce spacefaring life in concordance records.
Do you know what that means?
That we come from a dangerous planet, Ji-won said calmly. Dangerous? Vexthor stopped in front of her. Your world has apex predators in multiple environments. Your weather systems include hurricanes, tornadoes, and temperature variations that would kill most species. Your tectonic plates shift constantly, causing earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Your gravity is 0.4 standard units above concordance average. Your own microbiology is so aggressive that your immune systems wage constant war just to keep you alive. And despite all of this, your species not only survived but thrived to the point of developing advanced technology. He leaned down slightly, bringing his face closer to hers. Ji-won held his gaze without flinching. She had stared down plenty of aggressive people in her career. The fact that this one had reflective eyes and sharp teeth did not change the fundamental dynamic. This makes you either the most impressive species in the concordance, Vexthor said softly, or the most dangerous. The Academy directors believe the former. I remain unconvinced. He straightened. You will be segregated into a special training unit. You will wear restrictive devices during all physical activities to prevent injury to other students. You will follow modified protocols designed to account for your enhanced physical parameters. Is this understood? Yes, sir, Taeyang said, his military training evident in the crisp response. Vexthor's eyes narrowed. You will find the Academy challenging regardless of your world's classification. Many species have sent their finest warriors here. My own people, the Kralik, have never produced a graduate who failed to achieve high honors. We are the elite soldiers of the Concordance. We are what your species aspires to become. Ji-won bit back the response that wanted to come out. Instead, she simply nodded. Beside her, she could feel Taeyang's tension and Hana's barely contained irritation. Only Kyung seemed completely calm, watching Vexthor with that analytical gaze. Your quarters are in Section 9, Corridor 12. You will find them marked with your designations. Orientation begins at 0600 Concordance Standard Time. Do not be late. Vexthor turned and walked toward the door. It opened with that same slow, careful movement. Just before he left, he looked back. And do try not to break anything. The repair budgets are already strained. The door closed behind him. For a long moment, the four humans stood in silence. Well, Hana finally said. He seems nice. Taeyang snorted. He's scared. Did you see his posture? He was trying to intimidate us, but his weight was on his back foot the whole time. He's frightened of what we might be capable of. Everyone here is frightened, Kyung said quietly. He walked to the wall and pressed his hand against it. This entire station is built for fragile people. Look at this material. It's shock absorbent. The whole structure is designed to prevent injury from impacts that we would consider minor. They live in a padded world. Ji-won moved to the window. Outside, she could see the curve of the station and beyond it the stars. Somewhere out there, 37 light-years away, was Earth. Home. A world of storms and earthquakes, of predators and prey, of constant change and challenge. A world that had forged humanity in fire and pressure until they became what they were. She thought about Vexthor's words. Dangerous or impressive. Maybe they were both. Maybe that was what happened when a species evolved on a world that never stopped trying to kill them. They became strong enough to survive it, but hopefully, wise enough not to let that strength define them. Come on, she said, turning back to the others. Let's find our quarters. Tomorrow we start showing them who we really are. Taeyang grinned. Think they're ready for that? No, Ji-won said simply. But they're going to learn anyway. The medical examination room was too bright and too clean. Ji-won sat on the examination platform while 3 alien medical staff moved around her with visible nervousness. One of them held a scanning device that beeped softly as it passed over her body. The beeping gradually increased in frequency until it became almost frantic. Is something wrong? Ji-won asked. The lead medical officer, a being with pale yellow skin and 3 delicate fingers on each hand, consulted its data pad. Your cardiac rhythm registers 112 beats per standard minute. This would indicate severe cardiovascular stress in most species. Yet you report feeling calm. That's my resting heart rate, Ji-won said. It's normal for humans. The medical officer made a notation on its pad. Your blood pressure also registers at levels we would consider dangerous, and your muscular density is... It paused, checking the scanner again as if it might be malfunctioning. Your muscle tissue is approximately 40% denser than the concordance average for beings of similar mass. We evolved on a heavy gravity world, Ji-won said patiently. Our bodies adapted. In the next examination bay, separated by a thin partition, she could hear Kyung explaining human anatomy to an increasingly distressed medical staff. His calm, professional voice carried clearly through the material. Yes, we have a redundant circulatory system. If one pathway is compromised, blood can route through alternative vessels. The heart itself has 4 chambers for maximum efficiency. Our bones are reinforced with a mineral matrix that makes them extremely difficult to fracture. Our immune system is, by your standards, extraordinarily aggressive. It has to be. Earth's microbiology is highly competitive. But these systems, an alien voice responded, sounding shaken. They are designed for survival in hostile conditions. Your bodies are in constant state of readiness for trauma. Yes, Kyung said simply. That's correct. Ji-won's examination concluded after another 30 minutes of scanning, testing, and increasingly worried notation. She was cleared for training, but with a long list of warnings attached to her file. Excessive physical capability. Potential danger to other students. Requires modified protocols. The training grounds were located in the lower sections of the station, in areas with variable gravity. Ji-won arrived to find the other humans already there, along with about 20 alien students. Most of the aliens stayed in a cluster on the far side of the room, watching the humans with a mixture of curiosity and fear. Instructor Vexthor stood in the center of the space, arms crossed over his armored chest. Today we begin basic physical conditioning, he announced. All students will complete the standard obstacle course. Deathworlders, you will wear these. He gestured to a table where 4 devices sat waiting. They looked like bracelets made of dark metal, with small lights blinking along their surface. Taeyang picked one up and examined it. Motion restrictors, Vexthor explained. They will limit your movement speed and force generation to safe levels. They are calibrated to prevent you from accidentally injuring yourselves or others during training exercises. Ji-won fastened the devices to her wrists and ankles. Immediately, she felt resistance when she tried to move. It was like walking through water, every motion requiring extra effort to overcome the dampening field the devices generated. The obstacle course was straightforward. Climbing walls, balance beams, rope swings, and a series of barriers that required jumping or crawling. The alien students went first, moving through the course with practiced efficiency. They were coordinated and skilled, Ji-won noted. Just because they came from safer worlds did not make them incompetent. The fastest alien completed the course in 4 minutes and 18 seconds. Vexthor nodded approvingly. Acceptable performance. Deathworlders, you may proceed. Hana went first. Even with the restrictors slowing her down, she moved through the course with ease. The climbing wall that had required the aliens to search for handholds and carefully balance their weight might as well have been a ladder for her. She simply reached up and pulled herself to the top in smooth, powerful movements. The balance beam that others had crossed carefully, arms outstretched for stability, she walked across at a normal pace. The barriers designed to test jumping ability barely required her to break stride. She completed the course in 2 minutes and 41 seconds. The alien students went silent. Vexthor's expression was unreadable. Taeyang went next. His military training showed in every movement. He attacked the course with systematic efficiency, never wasting energy, never hesitating. His time was 2 minutes and 33 seconds. Kyung, despite having medical training rather than combat training, finished in 2 minutes and 52 seconds. Ji-won was last. As she approached the starting line, she noticed one of the alien students stepping closer. It was the one with blue crystalline skin and 4 arms that she had seen in the corridor yesterday. Up close, she could see that its body was made of something that looked like living glass, with light refracting through its structure. You are trying to make us look inferior, it said, its voice sharp and brittle. This is a demonstration to assert your dominance. Ji-won met its gaze. We're just doing what we were told to do. Running the course? With restrictors that you could probably overcome if you wished. This is theater. You are showing off your physical advantages while pretending to be restrained. The crystalline alien gestured with 2 of its arms. My name is Vel. I come from Threxia, a world with proud warrior traditions. We do not appreciate being made to feel inadequate by newcomers who think their Deathworld status makes them superior. I don't think I'm superior to you, Ji-won said quietly. I think I'm different. There's a distinction. Vel's body seemed to darken slightly, the light refracting through it taking on a reddish tone. Then prove it. Run the course without your restrictors. That would violate protocols, Ji-won said. Protocols designed to protect us from you. As if we are children who need to be sheltered from the dangerous humans. Vel's voice rose, and other students were turning to watch now. If you truly see us as equals, remove the restrictors. Show us your real capability so we can measure ourselves honestly. Vexthor's voice cut through the tension. Vel, stand down. The protocols exist for a reason. The protocols exist because the Academy administration fears what might happen if humans were allowed to move freely among us, Vel shot back. I am simply calling attention to the condescension inherent in that fear. Ji-won looked at Vexthor. The Kralik instructor was watching her with those reflective eyes, waiting to see how she would respond. There was a challenge in his gaze, but also something else. Curiosity, perhaps, or the same fear she had seen in everyone else here, wrapped in a layer of bravado. I'll run the course as instructed, Ji-won said. With the restrictors in place, she stepped to the starting line and began. The obstacle course fought her at every step. The restrictors dampened her movements, making her feel slow and clumsy. But she pushed through, focusing on technique rather than power. She thought about her years in the police, about the training that had emphasized control over aggression, about the time she had spent 3 hours talking to a man on a ledge, convincing him to step back from the edge. Strength was not just about what you could do. It was about what you chose not to do. Her time was 2 minutes and 38 seconds. As she finished, breathing easily despite the exertion, she noticed something. The alien students were no longer just watching with fear. There was something else in their expressions now. A kind of confused respect mixed with a growing sense of inadequacy. They had completed the course with their full capability, unrestricted and giving their best effort. The humans had done it faster while being deliberately held back. Vel's crystalline body had taken on a dull gray tone. This proves nothing, it said, but its voice lacked conviction. It proves we can follow instructions, Hana said, walking over to stand beside Ji-won. That's all. Vexthor called the class to attention. Adequate performance from all participants. Tomorrow we begin combat drills, dismissed. As the alien students filed out, Ji-won noticed several of them glancing back at the humans. The looks were no longer purely fearful. Now there was something else mixed in. Calculation, assessment. The beginning of a question that none of them seemed ready to ask out loud yet. That night in their shared quarters, the 4 humans sat around the small common area. Hana was working on a data pad, reviewing technical specifications for station systems. Taeyang was doing maintenance on his uniform. Kyung was reading medical journals. Ji-won stood at the window looking out at the stars. They think we're showing off, she said quietly. We are showing off, Taeyang replied without looking up. Just by existing here, we're showing off. Can't be helped. Vel isn't entirely wrong, Hana said. The restrictors are condescending. They're treating us like we can't be trusted to control ourselves. Can we? Kyung asked. He looked up from his reading. I've been reviewing concordant species biology. Most of them have bones that would break under stress loads we consider normal. Their muscles tear easily. Their pain tolerance is significantly lower than ours. If one of us made a mistake during sparring, we could kill someone without meaning to. The message arrived during breakfast. Ji-won was eating in the common dining area, sitting with the other humans at a table that seemed designed for beings larger than them. Most of the alien students gave them a wide berth, though a few had started to venture closer, curiosity overcoming fear. The message appeared on everyone's data pads simultaneously. An academy-wide announcement. Exhibition combat demonstration 3 days from now. Instructor Vexthor of the Kralik species versus human representatives. Unrestricted combat protocols. All students are invited to attend. The dining hall went silent. Then the whispers started, spreading from table to table like wildfire. Taeyang put down his fork. That's not a demonstration. That's a challenge. It's a trap, Hana said quietly. She was reading through the detailed information attached to the announcement. Look at the format. It's structured as an honor bout. If we refuse, it implies we're afraid. If we accept, we fight without restrictors in front of the entire academy. Kyung was studying the medical specifications included in the message. Kralik physiology, heavy gravity adaptation, enhanced reflexes, dense muscle tissue. They're ambush predators from a moon with 1.2 standard gravity. Vexthor has 17 years of combat experience and has never lost a sanctioned match. G1 read through the message again. The wording was careful, diplomatic even, but the intent was clear. Vexthor wanted to prove something. To himself, to the Academy, or perhaps to humanity itself. A shadow fell across their table. G1 looked up to find Vel standing there, its crystalline body reflecting the dining hall lights in sharp fragments. The Threxian was flanked by several other alien students. "Well," Vel said, "are the mighty Deathworlders going to accept? Or will you hide behind your protocols and safety restrictions?" "Why does it matter to you?" G1 asked calmly. "Because I am tired of the uncertainty. You walk through our academy with your restrictors and your careful movements, and we are all supposed to simply accept that you are as dangerous as your world classification suggests. But we have not seen evidence of this. We have only seen beings who move slightly faster than us, who are slightly stronger than us." Vel leaned forward. "Vexthor is offering you the chance to prove your reputation is deserved. Unless, of course, the reputation is merely administrative fiction." "You want us to fight your instructor?" Taeyang said. "To prove we're worth being afraid of. That's what this is really about." Vel's body flickered with internal light. "I want honesty. I want to know if humans are truly exceptional, or if the Concordance has simply been overcautious." "Is that so unreasonable?" Ji-won stood slowly. Even in the low gravity, her movements had weight to them. "You want to see what we can really do? Fine. I accept the challenge on behalf of our team. But understand something, Vel. You might not like what you see." "I will accept whatever truth reveals itself," Vel said. It turned and walked away, the other alien students following. The next 3 days passed in a strange tension. The humans trained in the private facilities that had been set aside for them, working without restrictors for the first time since arriving at the academy. It was startling how much difference it made. In the low gravity, Ji-won felt like she could fly. Her muscles, adapted for Earth's heavy pull, gave her power she had never quite experienced before. "This is what we really are," Hana said, completing a series of movements that would have been impossible under restrictor limitations. "This is why they're afraid. This is also why we need to be careful," Kyung countered. He was reviewing footage of Vexthor's previous matches. "The Krellic are not weak. They're the Concordance's premier combat species for a reason. Vexthor is skilled, experienced, and he knows his own capabilities perfectly. We need to respect that." Taeyang was working through combat drills, his military training evident in every precise strike and block. "The question is how far we take it. Do we hold back and risk losing? Or do we go all out and risk seriously hurting him?" G1 had been thinking about this constantly. "We show control. We demonstrate our capability, but we don't humiliate him. The goal isn't to win. It's to prove we can be trusted with our own strength." "That's a nice sentiment," Taeyang said. "But Vexthor is fighting to win. He won't appreciate being handled with kid gloves." "Then we find the balance," Ji-won said. "We show him respect by taking him seriously, but we also show him that we know when to stop." News of the exhibition spread beyond the academy. By the day of the match, the combat arena was filled to capacity. Students from dozens of species crowded the stadium-style seating. Ji-won even spotted several academy administrators in the upper viewing areas, watching with expressions that ranged from concern to fascination. The arena itself was a circular space about 30 meters in diameter, with a padded floor and clear barriers to protect the audience. Lighting came from panels in the ceiling, bright and even. Medical teams waited in designated areas, ready to respond to injuries. Vexthor entered first. He was wearing minimal armor, just protective plates over vital areas, leaving his limbs free for movement. The Kralik walked to the center of the arena with confidence, acknowledging the crowd with a raised fist. His people were known as warriors. This was his element. The 4 humans entered together. They wore simple training uniforms, no armor at all. Ji-won could hear the crowd's reaction, whispers of surprise and speculation. No restrictors, no protection, just humans as they naturally were. The match format was explained by a neutral referee, a multi-limbed being whose species Ji-won did not recognize. 4 rounds of combat. Taeyang would face Vexthor first in hand-to-hand combat, then Hana in a grappling match, Kyung in reflex-based combat using dulled training weapons, finally Ji-won in unrestricted full combat. Taeyang stepped forward first. He bowed to Vexthor, a gesture of respect. The Kralik returned the bow with a nod. The match began. Vexthor moved fast, his ambush predator reflexes giving him explosive speed. He closed the distance in a heartbeat, launching a strike at Taeyang's center mass. But Taeyang was already moving, deflecting the blow and pivoting away. The Korean Marines' defensive training took over, each movement economical and precise. Vexthor pressed the attack, using his size and reach advantage. Several strikes landed, impacts that would have broken bones in most species. Taeyang absorbed them, his body rocking with the force but not going down. There was a collective gasp from the crowd. Those hits should have ended the fight. Taeyang countered, a controlled throw that used Vexthor's own momentum against him. The Kralik hit the padded floor hard, rolled and came back up. His expression had changed. Surprise flickered across his features. They circled each other. Vexthor attacked again, faster this time, angry. But Taeyang remained defensive, blocking and evading, never fully committing to an offensive strike. When the time limit expired, both fighters were standing. The referee declared it a draw. Hana was next. The grappling match started with both fighters gripping each other, testing strength. Vexthor outweighed Hana by at least 50 kilograms, his massive frame dwarfing her smaller build. He tried to use that advantage, pushing forward with what should have been overwhelming force. Hana held her ground. Her legs, built for Earth's gravity, might as well have been rooted to the floor. She matched his pressure, then began to push back. Slowly, carefully, she moved the massive Kralik backward. Vexthor's eyes widened. He changed tactics, trying to sweep her legs. Hana adapted, shifting her balance without losing her grip. They struggled for position, and it became clear to everyone watching that Hana was restraining herself. She had the strength to end this quickly, but she was deliberately moderating her force, making it a contest rather than a demonstration of dominance. Time expired. Another draw. But Vexthor's confidence was visibly shaken now. Kyung's match was different. The reflex combat used dulled practice blades, testing speed and precision rather than strength. Vexthor was excellent at this, his years of training showing in every movement. But Kyung had the advantage of human visual processing. Eyes evolved for tracking fast-moving prey across long distances. Kyung's strikes were surgical, each one landing on non-lethal target zones marked on protective gear. He never went for a killing blow, never struck with full force. It was a masterclass in controlled combat, demonstrating perfect awareness of where and how hard to hit. The third draw. But everyone in the arena could see the pattern now. The humans were not fighting to win. They were fighting to prove they could fight without causing harm. Vexthor stood in his corner, breathing hard. His expression was complex, anger and confusion and something that might have been respect all mixed together. When Jiwon stepped forward for the final match, he looked at her with new eyes. "You have been holding back," he said quietly, just loud enough for her to hear. "Yes," Jiwon replied honestly. "Why?" "Because winning is not the goal. Understanding is." Vexthor's jaw tightened. "I am Kralik. I fight to win. I do not need your restraint. I need you to show me what you truly are." "Are you sure?" Jiwon asked. "Some truths are hard to face." "I am sure." Vexthor moved to the center of the arena. "Fight me as you would fight any opponent. With full strength, or admit that all of this is merely theater." Vexthor's frustration boiled over. Jiwon saw it happen, the moment when training gave way to emotion. She had seen it before in suspects who felt cornered, in people who felt their pride was at stake. The Kralik's movements became less controlled, more aggressive. His strikes came harder and faster. Jiwon continued to defend. Block, deflect, evade. Each movement was minimal, efficient. She was not trying to embarrass him. She was trying to show him that violence was not always the answer, even in combat. That true strength included knowing when not to strike. But Vexthor saw it differently. To him, her defensive stance was the ultimate insult. She was not even acknowledging him as a threat. In his culture among the Kralik, this would be equivalent to saying he was beneath her notice. His pride, already wounded by the previous 3 matches, could not tolerate it. "You mock me," he roared, loud enough that his voice carried through the arena even without translation. "You stand there and pretend this is respect, but you treat me like a child who must be protected from himself." "That's not what I'm doing," Jiwon said, but she could see her words were not reaching him. Vexthor charged, abandoning his combat form entirely. It was pure aggression now, driven by wounded pride and anger. He launched himself at her, both arms extended, going for her throat. It was not a training technique. It was an attack meant to hurt, to force her to respond with equal violence, to make this a real fight. Time seemed to slow. Ji-won's police training kicked in first. The defensive reflexes drilled into her over years of de-escalation work. Redirect the threat. Control the attacker. Protect yourself and others. But underneath that training was something older. Something that had evolved over millions of years on a world that did not forgive mistakes. Survival instinct. She moved without thinking. Her hands came up and caught Vexthor's arms mid-strike. Her fingers closed around his wrists. In her mind, she was still being gentle, still controlling the situation. But gentle by human standards was something else entirely. Vexthor tried to pull back. His muscles strained, enhanced by heavy gravity evolution and years of combat training. He pulled with enough force to break free from any other species in the concordance. Ji-won's grip did not move. Her hands might as well have been made of steel. The crowd went silent. The sudden stillness was absolute. Vexthor struck at her with his other arm, trying a close-range technique designed to break holds. Ji-won caught that arm too. Now she held both his wrists and he was completely immobilized. She could feel his strength through the grip, impressive by any standard. But Earth's gravity had forged human muscles in a crucible that few worlds could match. "Please stop," Ji-won said quietly. "This does not have to go further." But Vexthor was beyond listening. Panic mixed with rage in his eyes. He attempted a Kralic combat technique, a twisting motion that used the entire body's torque to generate enormous force. It was a move designed to break free from multiple opponents. Against most species, it would have worked. The sound that came next was sharp and clear. A crack that echoed through the arena like breaking ice. The kind of sound that made people wince because everyone instinctively knew what it meant. Vexthor's forearm bent at an angle that arms were not meant to bend. Between the two bones that formed the lower arm radius and ulna, the structure had failed. Not a clean break, but a compound fracture where the bone had shattered under stress it was never designed to withstand. Ji-won released him immediately, horror washing over her. Vexthor staggered backward, staring at his arm. For a moment he seemed not to process what had happened. Then the pain hit him and he collapsed. The arena exploded into chaos. Medical teams rushed forward. Students were shouting, some in alarm, some in fear. The referee was calling for order. But all Ji-won could see was Vexthor on the ground cradling his broken arm. Kyung was there in seconds, his medical training taking over. He knelt beside Vexthor, speaking in calm, professional tones. "Do not move the arm. The bone is fractured, but I can stabilize it. Medical team, I need a stasis brace now." Ji-won stood frozen, her hands still in the position where they had been gripping Vexthor's wrists. She stared at them as if they belonged to someone else. She had not meant to hurt him. She had been trying to stop him from hurting himself, trying to control the situation. But her control had not been enough. Tae-yang appeared at her side. "Ji-won, it's not your fault. He attacked you. You defended yourself." "I broke his arm," Ji-won whispered. "I broke it like it was glass." "Because to you it was," Tae-yang said quietly. "That's what they don't understand. To us we were being gentle. To them our gentle is still dangerous." The medical team had Vexthor on a stretcher now, his arm secured in a glowing stasis field that would prevent further damage. As they carried him past Ji-won, his eyes met hers. There was pain in his gaze, but also something else. Shock. The fundamental shock of having his understanding of the universe shattered along with his bone. The crowd was silent again, but this silence was different from before. It was not the silence of anticipation or excitement. It was the silence of fear, of a reality check so profound that it left no room for words. Ji-won looked up at the stands. Hundreds of alien students stared back at her. In their eyes, she could see it clearly now. Not the academic fear of something dangerous in the abstract, but the visceral fear of a predator standing in their midst. A predator that had just demonstrated exactly what it could do. Vel stood in the front row, its crystalline body completely colorless now, drained of all its usual refraction. Its forearms hung limp at its sides. It had gotten what it asked for. Truth. Honesty. A demonstration of what humans really were. And the truth had been more terrible than imagination. The referee declared the match suspended. The arena began to empty, students filing out in unusual quiet. No one was celebrating. No one was making jokes or talking about what they had witnessed. They were processing something that would change how they saw the humans forever. The four humans stood together in the empty arena. Hana was pale, her usual confidence shaken. Tae-yang maintained his military composure, but even he looked disturbed. Kyung returned from accompanying the medical team, his expression grave. Vexthor will recover, Kyung said. The fracture is serious but not life-threatening. With their medical technology, he should regain full function in 6 to 8 weeks. I did not mean to hurt him, Ji-won said. I was trying to stop him from hurting himself. I know, Kyung replied. But intention does not change outcome. His bones could not withstand the stress of pulling against your grip. The fault is not in your action, but in the fundamental mismatch of our physiologies. They asked us to show them what we really are, Hana said quietly. And now they know. They know we're dangerous even when we're trying to be careful. Taeyang shook his head. Dangerous is the wrong word. We're just different. We evolved under different pressures. They can't comprehend what it means to come from a Class 12 world because they've never experienced it. And now they fear us more than before, Ji-won said. She looked around the empty arena, at the barriers designed to protect the audience, at the medical stations positioned for quick response. We came here to integrate, to show them we could work alongside them. Instead, I've proven that we're exactly what they feared. Kyung placed a hand on her shoulder. You also proved that you tried every possible way to avoid harming him. Everyone saw that. You defended without attacking. You controlled without dominating. It was only when he forced your hand, when he attacked with lethal intent, that the injury occurred. Will that matter to them? Ji-won asked. The question hung in the air unanswered. They walked back to their quarters in silence. The corridors seemed even wider than before. Or perhaps it was just that other students were giving them more space. Any time they encountered another being, it would press itself against the wall or duck into a side passage, avoiding contact. In their quarters, Ji-won went to the window and looked out at the stars. Earth was out there somewhere, invisible among the countless points of light. She thought about home, about the streets of Seoul where she had walked her beat, about the people she had protected. She had never hurt anyone permanently in all her years on the force. She had talked down violent suspects, had restrained dangerous individuals, had maintained order without causing lasting harm. But here, in this place where everyone was more fragile than paper, her careful control was not careful enough. Maybe we should not have come, she said quietly. Hana joined her at the window. If we had not come, they would have never understood what a Deathworld really produces. They would have just had classifications and theoretical dangers. Now they know. And knowledge, even painful knowledge, is valuable. Is it? Ji-won asked. What good is knowledge that only creates fear? It's not just fear, Taeyang said. He was reviewing his datapad, reading through messages that had come in after the match. Listen to this. It's from one of the alien students, someone from a species I don't even recognize. They wrote, I watched you hold back in every exchange. I saw you try every method to avoid harm. The injury was not caused by your... The request came 3 days after the incident. Ji-won was in her quarters, reviewing academy regulations for the 20th time, trying to find anything she had violated. The answer was nothing. She had followed every protocol, responded to an attack, defended herself. But regulations meant little when the outcome was a shattered bone and a station full of frightened students. The message on her datapad was brief. Vexthor requests private meeting. Medical Bay, room 7. Your choice to accept or decline. Ji-won stared at the message. Part of her wanted to decline, to avoid facing the consequence of her actions directly. But she had been a police officer too long to hide from difficult conversations. She sent back a single word. Accepted. The medical bay was quiet when she arrived. Most of the beds were empty, a testament to how safe life was in the concordance for most species. Injuries were rare, serious injuries even more so. She found room 7 and pressed the door chime. Enter, came Vexthor's voice, slightly distorted by the translator but recognizable. He was sitting up in bed, his arm encased in a regeneration sleeve that glowed with soft blue light. The device was accelerating his body's natural healing, knitting bone and tissue back together at a rate that would have been impossible naturally. His face was drawn but alert. Thank you for coming, Vexthor said. I was not certain you would. Ji-won stepped inside, letting the door close behind her. I owed you this much. I injured you. The least I can do is face you afterward. You defended yourself, Vexthor corrected. I attacked you with intent to harm. This is not ambiguous. I have reviewed the footage extensively. I forced the confrontation. I still broke your arm. Yes. Vexthor looked at his injured limb. You did, and in doing so you taught me something I needed to learn. He gestured to a chair. Please sit. I have questions if you will permit them. Ji-won sat. The chair was sized for someone larger, making her feel small. Appropriate, perhaps, given the conversation. I have been a combat instructor for 17 years. Vexthor began. I have trained warriors from dozens of species. I have fought in actual combat operations, defended stations from raiders, protected colonies from threats. I believed I understood strength. I believed the Kralik represented the peak of what evolution could produce in a warrior species. He paused. I was wrong. You are strong, Ji-won said. Your people are respected as soldiers for good reason. We are strong compared to most species in the Concordance. But the Concordance is composed primarily of species from safe worlds. Worlds where evolution optimized for efficiency rather than survival. We Kralik evolved on a heavy gravity moon, true, but it was a moon without significant predators. Our strength came from climbing and moving in high gravity, not from defending against threats. Vexthor looked at her directly. Tell me about Earth, not the official classification. Tell me what it is truly like. Ji-won thought about how to explain it. Earth's gravity is 0.4 units above your standard, as you know. But that is only part of the story. We have weather systems that generate winds strong enough to destroy buildings. We have tectonic activity that can reshape landscapes without warning. We have temperature variations that range from hot enough to kill in minutes to cold enough to freeze solid tissue. We have thousands of species of predators, some of which can kill an unarmed human easily. And yet humans survived, Vexthor said. More than survived. You thrived. You developed technology, art, civilization. How? By being stubborn, Ji-won said. By refusing to give up even when everything tried to kill us. By working together, because individually we were not strong enough. By adapting, learning, building tools. By becoming persistent. Persistent, Vexthor repeated. I looked up human hunting strategies. Persistence hunting. You would track prey for hours or days until it collapsed from exhaustion. Your species did not rely on speed or strength alone. You relied on endurance. We're distance runners, Ji-won confirmed. Not the fastest, but we can keep going long after others would stop. It's how we survived. Vexthor was quiet for a moment. During our match, you held back. I knew this intellectually, but I did not understand what it meant. I thought you were being condescending. Now I understand you were being merciful. You were fighting at a level you believed would not harm me, and even that level was too much for my body to withstand. I should have stopped sooner, Ji-won said. I should have found a way to end it without injury. There was no way, Vexthor said. I understand that now. Your species and mine, we are not compatible for unrestricted combat. The strength differential is too great. It would be like me fighting a child. Even my restraint could cause harm. He looked at his arm again. This injury was necessary. It was the only way for me to truly understand what you are, what all humans are. What are we? Ji-won asked quietly. You are what happens when a world refuses to let you be soft, Vexthor said. You are evolution's answer to a planet that demanded strength or death. And you chose strength, but you also chose something else. Compassion, ethics, control. He met her eyes. That is what I saw in the arena. Not a predator enjoying dominance, but a warrior struggling desperately to avoid causing harm. Even when I attacked you, even when you had every right to respond with violence, you tried to control the situation without injury. That is not the behavior of a monster. That is the behavior of someone who understands exactly how dangerous they are, and chooses not to use that danger unnecessarily. Ji-won felt something tight in her chest, loosen slightly. The other students do not see it that way. They're afraid of us. They are, Vexthor agreed. But fear can transform into respect, given time and understanding. I will help with this. When I am recovered, I will speak to them. I will explain what I learned. That humans are not to be feared as enemies but valued as allies. Because if you exercise this much control over your strength when defending yourselves, imagine what you could do when protecting others. Over the following weeks, things began to change. Slowly at first, then with gathering momentum. Vexthor kept his word. Once his arm was healed enough for him to move around, he began speaking to students, to instructors, to anyone who would listen. He did not minimize the danger that humans represented. Instead, he contextualized it. They are dangerous the way a rescue worker running into a burning building is dangerous, he explained to a group of students. Yes, they have capabilities we lack. Yes, they can cause harm if they choose. But they choose not to. That choice, maintained consistently despite every provocation, is what defines them. The Academy administration held multiple meetings. Ji-won was called to testify, to explain her actions, to provide context. Kyung presented medical data comparing human and alien physiology. Taeyang demonstrated combat techniques with and without restrictors, showing the control humans exercised. Hana proposed engineering solutions for better safety protocols. In the end, the decision was not to expel humans but to expand their role. A new program was created, officially titled Deathworld Integration Training, but quietly referred to as Learning from Earth by students who enrolled. Ji-won became an assistant instructor, teaching combat philosophy, not just techniques but the ethics of strength, when to fight and when to walk away, how to assess threats without overreacting, how to protect without dominating. Taeyang led tactical courses that emphasized survival in hostile environments. He taught students from Garden Worlds what it meant to operate without perfect conditions, without guaranteed safety. Many found it terrifying. Some found it exhilarating. Hana's engineering classes became legendary. She approached problems with a mindset shaped by scarcity and danger, finding solutions that more optimistic species had never considered. Her students learned to build with redundancy, to prepare for failure, to expect the unexpected. Kyung developed new medical protocols that considered extreme physiology variations. His work would eventually be adopted throughout the concordance, improving emergency care for species whose biology deviated from the norm. Vel, the crystalline student who had challenged them initially, approached Ji-won 6 weeks after the incident. The Threxian's body was still somewhat dull, its crystalline structure not yet fully recovered from the stress of that day. "I owe you an apology," Vel said without preamble. "I pushed for confrontation because I felt inadequate. I wanted to prove that Deathworlders were not special, that our species were equal. But equality does not mean sameness. I understand that now." "You do not need to apologize," Ji-won said. "I do," Vel insisted. "I put you in a position where harming someone was inevitable. I wanted honesty, but I did not consider the cost of that honesty. I have enrolled in your combat philosophy class. I want to learn what you have to teach. Then I will teach you," Ji-won said. "But first lesson free of charge. Being strong does not make you better than others. It just makes you responsible for being careful." Vel's body flickered with internal light. "Second lesson? Being fragile does not make you weak. It just means you developed under different circumstances. We all have value, regardless of where we come from." More humans arrived as the months passed. Word had spread back to Earth that the integration was working, that humans were not just being